All right, so our next presenters are Arohi, Mason, Jake, and Anna from FRC team 2468 on SACOT, the power of STEM advocacy. I think that's how you say it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arohi, and I'm a rising 11th grader at Westlake High School in Austin, Texas. I am on First Robotics Competition Team 2468, and I'm the president of SACOT, or the STEM Advocacy Conference of Texas. Today, I'm joined by my co-lead, Mason.
Hi, everyone. As Arohi said, I'm Mason. I'm a rising 10th grader at Westlake High School in Austin, Texas. I'm a part of First Robotics Competition Team 2687, and I'm the vice president of SACOT.
Today, we are here to tell you about one of FRC 2468's outreach initiatives, the STEM Advocacy Conference of Texas, or SACOT for short. We will share our past events and experiences since SACOT's inception in 2016, and what you, as members of your community, can do to advocate and make a difference.
We'd like to start with this video that briefly introduces and explains SACOT's mission and what we've done to advocate and educate members of not only our community, but our nation as a whole.
The STEM Advocacy Conference of Texas was founded 5 years ago by FRC 2468 Team Appreciate. SACOT's mission is to give all high school students in Texas a voice in their STEM education. We have organized over 1,000 FIRST students from across our state to train them on advocacy techniques, assemble policy platforms, to develop an advocacy plan, and to lobby our legislators for the changes we want to see. SACOT has had numerous successes. Our advocacy efforts have contributed to the classroom connectivity issue and to an increase in career and technical education funding. So, how did we generate this success?
In 2015 and 2016, we attended the NAC conferences in hopes of starting a state advocacy group. We gained the political experience to start SACOT.
In Texas, legislative sessions take place every 2 years. Before each, the SACOT Executive Committee assembles our platform recommendations. We research bills proposed to the Texas Congress, look at platforms assembled by other interest groups, and reach out to lawmakers and other policy experts. The Executive Committee then takes all that we learned and selects a few policies that we believe are best aligned with the SACOT mission and that we will be able to successfully promote. Here's an example clip of the kind of video promotions of our platforms that we will send to help teams understand what we are lobbying.
HB 341, authored by Philip Cortez, is the first of our 3 planks. This bill, which relates to the public funding of career and technology education courses, currently, school districts receive weighted funding for each student they have enrolled in a career and technology education course, which includes classes like computer science, engineering, virtual business, and more. This weighted funding only applies to high schoolers, though. If HB 341 passes, this funding will extend to middle schoolers as well. 8th graders enrolled in such courses will give their school districts more money to further buy materials and resources to fund those classes. Middle school STEM engagement is crucial to the continuation of tech-based education and is reason enough to vote for HB 341.
This process takes a lot of effort, as thousands of education bills are proposed to Texas legislators each session.
The SACOT Executive Committee then organizes our annual conferences, inviting all of our members to join us. At each, we discuss policy and develop our advocacy action plan. In these conferences, we train our members on how to best advocate for our platform. During a legislative session, we meet with state lawmakers advocating for said platform.
I hope they'll understand that high schoolers are really invested in their own education and they want to make a difference in the world. We're hoping that they'll see that and they'll start to listen more to us. We'll build a bigger voice and they'll start to actually spread STEM and put it into legislation that they want certain courses to be in every school across the nation.
I'm sure seeing a group of high school students taking time out of their schedules and having like the courage to go and talk to legislators is just really impressive, and I think they will definitely hear more and want to hear more of what we have to say.
Our first conference is called the Founders Conference. This assembly was strategically planned to increase membership and start SACOT with some momentum. 10 FIRST teams attended, and we recruited 250 new members shortly thereafter. We invited keynote speakers to this event, such as Ray Almgren, the former chairman of FIRST in Texas, John Howard, director of government affairs and public policy at Dell, Evan Smith, CEO of Texas Tribune, and Texas State Representatives Donna Howard and Paul Workman.
SACOT recruits new members using our website, developed by members of our team. The SACOT website allows students and teams to register with the organization and get updates about upcoming events. The website also hosts other resources, such as a database that allows students to easily identify their representatives and senators. Each member has an individualized dashboard, allowing them to take polls regarding STEM and FIRST. We have used polls as a means of finalizing our platform as well. With each poll a user takes, they acquire SACOT points. SACOT points are totaled based on the individual and team with the most points, and we give out prizes to the winners at our conferences. Ways to earn points include polls, adopting teams, participating in events, and more. Adopting a team is when an individual finds another team that's not part of SACOT and helps them join the organization.
Another method of recruitment is at our competitions. With the inclusion of our SACOT booth, teams can familiarize themselves with our organization and learn how to join. We have team members register as they express interest so we can quickly relay information to them. We have SACOT booths at as many competitions as we can. We go out of our way to talk to as many teams in the pits and stands in hopes of recruitment to state advocacy. We even try and visit FTC competitions as well. We also extend an invite to our local legislators to attend the event. This gives them a sense of what FIRST entails and helps highlight why STEM education is so vital.
I see SACOT as one of the key mechanisms in which we can have teams, FIRST teams, educating their state legislatures on what a great benefit a FIRST program is to the community and to the students that participate.
More recently, we hosted the SACOT Gone Virtual Conference, allowing our members to either attend in person or online. To do so, we innovated a technical system combining Skype and Twitch. Because of this virtual model, over 50 FIRST teams were able to attend. Together, we discussed our platform for that legislative session. Our members brainstormed potential policy points to advocate for, including increased STEM class funding and the improvement of technology-related educational standards.
A few months later, we organized SACOT on the Hill, where our members went to the Texas Capitol to meet with and advocate to state legislators. In total, the 60 members in attendance met with 30 lawmakers. By the end of the day, we had spread awareness for FIRST and gained some political momentum. One of the bills we were supporting, HB 341, was designed to increase funding for career and technical education courses in public middle schools. The day after our conference, the bill was moved to the Education Committee. We like to think we were the reason for that. Eventually, HB 341 was incorporated into a larger bill that was passed.
Last November, we organized a new type of conference called the SACOT Summit. Rather than directly advocating to legislators, we sought to open a dialogue between high school students and policymakers. To do so, we organized a panel of speakers including a state representative, a tech CEO, a FIRST in Texas board member, and a STEM policy expert. They answered questions from the audience of 75 FIRST students.
As it says in our name, SACOT focuses its political efforts in our home state of Texas. But we want all students to have the same opportunity to advocate for STEM. So we host conferences like these, like the first SAS. More directly, we have developed SACOT in a Box, where we directly help other teams start their advocacy efforts. We walk them through our state advocacy guide. We have worked with 2 other FRC teams to successfully establish student advocacy groups in Pennsylvania and Arizona. We help them by sharing our development model and by mentoring them via telephone and Discord calls. One of them is actually participating in this event. We also partnered with a low-income after-school program to provide kids with the opportunity to get hands-on experience with STEM. Using 2468's Roblox Kit, students have the chance to design, program, and drive a robot as they learn technical aspects of STEM.
Finally, we'd like to share some tips to help other current and prospective advocacy groups achieve success. Number 1, be patient. Political change doesn't happen in a day. Progress is the result of sustained advocacy. Identify the policy points you want to see get adopted and dedicate yourselves to them.
Number 2, do your research. Professional lobbyists usually know more about the bills they're advocating for than the lawmakers who wrote them. Of course, as students, it's unreasonable to hold ourselves to the same standard, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't support legislation we haven't done our homework on.
Number 3, make friends everywhere you go. It is incredibly helpful to know people knowledgeable about STEM policy. For any advocacy group, it is crucial to make and sustain these relationships.
Number 4, work with other teams. SACOT's greatest successes have all been the result of collective action. By working together, FRC teams in Texas have been able to contribute to significant change in the STEM education system. Without our partners, none of what we do would be possible.
Since SACOT's start in 2016, we've met with 83 legislators, gained a following of over 1,000 members, and 146 FRC teams, helped enact 2 policies, and hosted 6 conferences. We welcome the opportunity to mentor new teams. If you are interested, please reach out through our social media platforms at FRC 2468 or at SACOT Texas.
We hope y'all enjoyed that intro video. As our motto says, SACOT's big goal is giving Texas high school students a voice in their STEM education. But what does this mean? The first thing it means is that you, as a high school student, have a voice and an opinion about how STEM education should be done. You have lived it. You have seen the good things and the more difficult things. You should make that voice heard. But closely tied to that first thing is that your voice by itself may get drowned out. But if we all have the same voice, together we can make it loud.
So SACOT is about making it loud for high school STEM students in Texas. But what do we care about? What are the goals of SACOT? And what do we do with our louder voice? The first goal of SACOT is to increase spending on STEM within the state of Texas. We're all very passionate about STEM, and we're good examples of why STEM spending is important. By directly communicating with our legislators, they can hear firsthand on what we think is important. Our generation is the one that is driving the future, so it's important that we proudly use our voice to speak up. The second goal of SACOT is to educate our government leaders about the issues of STEM and in particular robotics. It's important to see how many of our leaders, well, it's amazing too, how many of our leaders aren't well informed on what STEM means or how it impacts us as students.
So that's what SACOT is all about, and it's going great so far. Let's take a look at the last few years in detail so you can better understand how SACOT was started.
So FRC 2468 attended the National Advocacy Conference, also known as NAC, from 2013 to 2015. NAC takes place in Washington, D.C. each June, and at this conference, students get the opportunity to talk to members of Congress and advocate to expand FIRST to underrepresented populations while promoting STEM education. This event provides a hands-on and practical introduction on what you need to be an effective advocate at the local, state, and federal level. We loved the experience and returned every year up until 2015. However, we learned that direct legislative change is often made at the state level rather than the federal level. So we decided to create SACOT, a STEM advocacy conference that is specifically focused on advocating for legislative change at the state level here in Texas.
In 2016, SACOT held its first ever conference, the Founders Conference. We began to integrate founding FRC and FTC teams into SACOT to help start the organization with FIRST robotics teams from all around Texas. We already started to see a large increase in membership, with over 225 new members joining that October through our inaugural conference. We established 3 main goals that we wanted to see take place at each annual conference. Our first goal is to teach members how to advocate. Most students haven't had the opportunity to formulate convincing arguments for a given cause. It really can be nerve-wracking to talk to congressmen and women. And so at each conference, we provide training and role-playing practice for advocating before we go and execute. The second goal is to collectively discuss and decide upon things we feel passionate about, so we as a group can advocate for those things. We do this by some various methods, such as breakout sessions, online group forums, bringing in outside parties to speak and give a unique professional perspective to what they see going on at their level, hosting panels with speakers from all sorts of unique backgrounds, and more. The third and final main goal we have for our SACOT conferences is to have face-to-face meetings with legislators. We help organize and coordinate these meetings so things run smoothly. Even though our annual conference does not coincide with the legislative session that happens every other year here in Texas, we still continue to have meetings with legislators.
In January of 2017, we began our second push for members with our first annual conference at the Texas State Capitol. We began building our SACOT community through this 3-day conference where we held panel discussions with Texas representatives and first board members, along with discussions about 3 major problems we saw in our state at the time: a lack of STEM jobs, a lack of STEM educators, and a lack of STEM in our communities. At the beginning of each conference, students collectively brainstormed and decided on what platform we wanted to do for that conference. Like Arohi mentioned earlier, our annual conferences coincide with the Texas legislative session every 2 years. The main purpose of our first conference was to teach members and train them on how to advocate and help them understand the process of how to interact with legislators and then to go advocate. We had small groups meet with over 50 legislators to advocate for the SACOT bill of that year. It was HB 395. And educate them about UIL robotics, the funding that it provides, and to inform them about SACOT, plus the importance of STEM. Overall, it was a very successful first annual conference with a large increase in membership as well.
In December of 2018, we held the SACOT Gone virtual conference. This conference was the first time that we connected our audience, not only in person, but virtually through notes set up for this live stream in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and a speaker live from New Hampshire. These notes helped our training and discussions reach teams in not only our immediate area, but throughout the entire state of Texas and beyond. Our platform at this conference consisted of discussions about how there was a lack of STEM education, not only in Texas, but across the US, and what we could do to improve funding. Many important figures like Texas Representative Donna Howard, Caroline Joyner from Amazon, the former president of FIRST, Don Bossy, and more tuned in to speak and share their advice and knowledge. We held discussion questions after each guest speaker and presentation to further engage the 120 attendees and 300 online viewers at this conference.
Now, let's watch this short clip of one of our guest speakers, Caroline Joyner, who works at Public Policy and Amazon. She was presenting at this event.
High school, what about other engineering skills such as electrical, mechanical, CAD that students should be learning on as well?
We have a big focus on making sure that what's offered in CTE courses aligns to industry needs and making sure that CTE is high quality, aligns to high wage, high demand. A TTA is working that as well. Because the federal Perkins dollars that I mentioned before, the federal fund is provided per student basis for CTE courses. Now only for those courses that will align to high wage, high needs. So we should always focus on making sure those CTE courses, from some of the things you mentioned, are aligned to industry and are rigorous courses.
Our third annual conference was SACOT on the Hill in February 2019. We implemented the same process of training SACOT members to go and advocate to Texas legislators, and we had over 30 successful legislator meetings. The main bill that was a part of our platform this year was House Bill 341, which was a bill relating to funding for public school career and technology programs. We also held our first ever legislator open house where FLL, FTC, and FRC teams from Austin got to demonstrate their robots and help legislators and staffers learn more about what FIRST students do and our passion for STEM education.
In November of 2019, we hosted the SACOT Summit. Many FIRST teams joined us at the Capitol for conversations with legislators, industry professionals, FIRST Robotics board members, and members of the Board of Education. We engaged in discussions with these professionals, and students got to speak up and ask questions to our panelists. After the panel of professionals spoke about their STEM experiences, we did a panel flip and gave the audience an opportunity to hear from 4 high school FRC students so they could talk about what changes they would like to see in our STEM community. They gave the adults insight into how our education and experiences at the high school level really are. Students learned how they can use their voice to go about endorsing STEM bills and advocating for STEM education. And adults got to recognize how we feel on the other side.
Our most recent event was the First State Advocacy Summit this past February. We hosted a stream on First Update Now's Twitch channel and had teams from Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New York speak on the advocacy they have done in their state. Over 449 viewers gain insight into how they can create state advocacy for their team and how they can make a big impact on their state government. Each team presented their own advocacy initiatives and participated in a discussion with our robotics team, FRC 2468's SACOT presidents. We also had 2 guest speakers from teams here in Texas who joined us at the event site to talk about the change they have seen through their advocacy as a part of SACOT. We saw great value and results in hosting this nationwide stream because we got to bring together many states from around the country, all with similar goals in their advocacy. And we reached so many more teams who are now inspired to start their own STEM advocacy programs too.
Currently, SACOT has more than 146 first teams involved in our advocacy program, with over 1,090 members. SACOT has also hosted over 83 legislative meetings. But the numbers don't tell the whole story.
The following video shows 3 very important pillars in our community. The First in Texas Chair, Ray Almgren, the former president of First, Don Bossy, and Texas Representative Donna Howard. All 3 of them have spoken at multiple of our annual conferences, and in their interview, they emphasized how important SACOT is in building and connecting the FIRST robotics community.
I see SACOT as one of the key mechanisms in which we can have first teams, educating their state legislators and senators on what a great benefit a FIRST program is to the community and to the students that participate. So for me, the benefit of SACOT is a grassroots effort where team members from throughout the state are educating our communities on the benefits of FIRST.
Advocacy is really, really important to FIRST, and I genuinely appreciate all the time and effort and energy and just the interest and enthusiasm that you all show to help us sort of get the message of FIRST and get access to FIRST to more and more kids. What you're doing and helping our elected leaders understand the importance of FIRST, the value of FIRST, and the value of supporting FIRST is really important. What you're doing, learning how to speak to elected leaders, learning how to message kind of the experiences you've had and the value of programs like FIRST to those elected leaders, and helping to get their buy-in and commitment to join us as partners and to make these types of programs accessible and available to every kid everywhere in any school or any community is really, really important. And so I just want to say, on behalf of myself, but really on behalf of the whole FIRST organization, that I really, really appreciate what you're doing.
STEM is so important, and if we don't do this, it's at our own peril, because that is not only the jobs of now, but the jobs of the future.
Now that you've seen SACOT's past, let's discuss what you as members of your community can do to have your voice heard. Real change begins with going out and making a lasting impact. Let's start by introducing FRC 2468 alumni and the former 2018-2019 SACOT presidents, Anna and Jake.
Hi, Anna and Jake. We're so excited to have you on and hear what you have to say about the impact SACOT had on you and speak to the audience about any advice you have for them. Hi, Anna. We're going to begin with you. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell us about your experiences with SACOT and what it meant to you?
Yeah, of course. Being a part of SACOT has taught me so much. From public speaking to learning about Texas government and to pitching and advocacy. My experiences with SACOT have helped me gain confidence in leadership, and by being a student-led and student-founded organization, it's challenged me to think creatively to get high school students involved in advocacy. As we plan conferences and events, researching for presentations and speaking with legislators has also taught me so much about STEM education in Texas and how important it is to spread STEM across the state. From the relationships I built with state legislators and other adults outside of robotics through SACOT, I learned effective communication and various other business communication skills. But I feel like SACOT has also had a huge impact on Team 2468. Since it started within our team, we had the resources and connections to really start off strong and kick it off. As one of the team's main outreach initiatives, SACOT has allowed us to build long-term relationships with numerous other FIRST teams through our booth set up at competitions and by hosting statewide conferences. It has, not only taught our team advocacy, but also how to teach other students across the nation who are also passionate about STEM and want to start their own state advocacy organizations. 2468 members are encouraged to participate in SACOT events, which might have taught them more about STEM education and advocacy than they might have initially expected upon joining robotics in the first place. SACOT has definitely helped our team and every team participating in SACOT make a true impact on their local community and their state legislature.
Wow, Anna, that was some amazing insight into your experience in advocacy. The last question we have for you is, do you have any advice for anyone wanting to start advocating in the audience?
Of course. Yeah, I would say my main point to make is to contact your legislators and don't be afraid to contact them. I remember feeling so scared the first time I spoke to legislators because, I was just some high school student wanting to share my story. But, that's exactly what made it so special, because being a high school student is refreshing for legislators. It helps them understand your own perspective as a STEM student. They're really interested in getting to know you, your story, and your ideas, and are almost always willing to help whatever goals you have. SACOT built strong relationships with our state legislators, and they were very excited and very interested in speaking at our conferences. Legislators really want to hear from students like us. But please remember, legislators are very busy and likely won't respond the first time you contact them, especially through email. So send several follow-ups and start off emailing several legislators in the first place. Because I'd say for like every 10 legislators you email, maybe a couple of them will respond, but not even until the second or third follow-up. Do not be discouraged if they don't respond immediately. They're not trying to ignore you. That's just because they're busy and they definitely want to hear what you're saying. I'd also want to add that once you have a meeting, it's really important to be prepared before you talk to them. That includes, doing research on your topic, as well as looking to see if there's current bills in legislation related to your topic, practicing mock meetings, and, preparing questions they may ask. In addition, you want to make sure that you dress appropriately. We all dressed business formal during our meetings, suits and blazers, So definitely prepare something they can also remember you by for the meeting, like a one-pager, leave behind summary, or something that they can hold on to. And especially after the meeting, you want to make sure you follow up with an email to thank them and include anything else that you might have talked about during the meeting. I definitely know it can be scary at first, but it gets easier every time. So just remember that the relationships you build will be so important to making real change in STEM education.
Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing your experiences in SACOT with us and our audience.
Of course.
Next, Jake, we're going to ask you a couple questions. So how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I saw a few 2468 people in the chat posting a bunch of stuff, so that made me smile. I love you guys.
That's awesome. Do you think you can tell us about some of your personal experiences with SACOT and how it impacted you?
Yeah, so similar to Anna, I got a lot out of SACOT because it taught me how to go and speak to people, how to really put myself out there. Because like Anna said, it seems really difficult at first to go talk to legislators, but I got to do it a bunch, and that's really cool. And now I'm really well spoken in comparison how I was before. I got to work with organizing people. I got to meet a whole bunch of people, and when I mentioned to people that, oh yeah, I've advocated to a few people up at the Capitol in Texas, they always go like, whoa, that's so cool. And they're right. It's really awesome, and it's really good for you, and you get to learn a lot of skills that I think a lot of people in robotics, like Anna said, didn't expect to learn, and now they're actually getting to do it. And it's so cool, not only for me to get to learn that stuff, but to see other people learn it as well. And I thought that was one of my favorite parts about being the president of SACOT, was getting to see all that happen. So, but that being said, Anna and I talked a whole bunch about how like it affected us. We started SACOT to affect all of Texas, and I think it's really cool that we've gotten to share. We say, oh, we got to learn a bunch from it, but all these students in Texas got to learn a whole bunch about how to go talk to these legislators and how to really make a difference. And when I say make a difference, now we have what you guys said, 83 legislators who know so much more about STEM, and that's pretty cool considering a lot of the legislators we talked to didn't really even know what it stood for. They didn't know that STEM was the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, like acronym. And hearing them, kind of light up, seeing high schoolers talk about that was really cool. And noticing that like they were actually taking notes, they were learning stuff from us. And that plays huge into our future. And that's how SACOT had such a huge impact on Texas, was that these people are going to be making policies that are going to affect us for the rest of our lives, whether it be your kids when they're in school, or your business when you're running a business, or you're just an employee. And I know that for the people watching and all the people who are in robotics who aren't watching, they're probably going to end up in a situation where those policies are incredibly important to them. And us going and educating all of these legislators, it's really important now, but into the future, it's going to be even more important. So I think we'll see the impact get even greater as we go on and see more SACOT teams form. And I just love seeing you guys do your stuff. So.
Well, thank you. That's really nice. So we love to hear your unique perspective, but how do you think SACOT has impacted other first teams?
So as I mentioned multiple times, was that other students on those teams get to have these awesome experiences. They get to learn all this stuff, but more obviously, we help these teams get outreach opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise, and that is great for everyone. Especially, let's say you got a small team who doesn't know what they're doing, they get to get involved with us, and now they can have a bigger impact, and they can get some outreach points, which is awesome for them. But even more important is some of the stuff with SACOT in a Box that we've been doing. You guys actually mentioned this in the video and presentation. We reached out to a bunch of other states and taught them how to make their own versions of SACOT. I know I talked to a team up in Colorado. I talked to the Trojanators. Any of you guys are out there? You guys are cool. And we got to help them learn how to make this organization, which again is a huge outreach opportunity for those teams. But it also, like I said, I learned a lot from making these, and now I got to go help other students go make their own organization. They learned a whole bunch, and they got a whole lot out of it just in straight up life experience. And I'm really proud that I got to do something like that. And hopefully, teams have noticed that we've had a big impact here.
Thank you, Jake. We loved hearing about the ways in which SACOT has impacted you, you and our state, and how SACOT's model can be used by any team that wants to start their own advocacy efforts.
Yeah.
So if you live in the Austin area, you may know about KXAN, the local news channel here. Jake and Anna had the opportunity to talk about SACOT on KXAN. Here's a small clip of them and our robotics team from the news segment. Let's take a look.
Today, high school students from across the state are at the Capitol telling lawmakers about the importance of STEM education. Today's event is being hosted by a group of Westlake High School students who are part of the STEM Advocacy Conference of Texas, or SACOT. In addition to showing off their robotic creations, teens are meeting with their local representatives and senators to advocate for more funding for STEM activities, as well as new technology for classrooms statewide.
I hope they'll understand that high schoolers are really invested in their own education and they want to make a difference in the world. We're hoping that they'll see that and they'll start to listen more to us. We'll build a bigger voice and they'll start to actually spread STEM and put it into legislation that they want certain courses to be in every school across the nation.
I'm sure seeing a group of high school students taking time out of their schedules and having like the courage to go and talk to legislators is just really impressive, and I think they will definitely hear more and want to hear more of what we have to say.
It definitely is impressive. This is the second legislative session SACOT has taken part in since it formed in January 2016.
So next, we're going to briefly recap on what Anna and Jake spoke on and share some more information so we can give you a perspective of the complete impact of SACOT.
So SACOT and STEM advocacy in general can impact you in numerous ways beyond just advocacy, but in other aspects of life as well. Students gain skills like leadership, public speaking, pitching, communicating, and more that help beyond just SACOT. And it's even a great resume builder for any high schoolers that are watching out there in the audience. Advocating to help pass a bill and see real change happen at the legislative level is truly such a fulfilling experience because you see the issues that you spoke up for being changed and improved due to your efforts. Also, meeting new teams and like-minded individuals when we come together to discuss important issues at our conferences and events is so much fun.
SACOT can impact your robotics team by providing an impactful and meaningful outreach activity that Even First loves. You can make connections with other teams and professionals at events, and you can collectively better your STEM community together.
SACOT has impacted over 146 FIRST teams and 1,091 individuals in just the state of Texas. Many of these teams have reached out to other teams in their community and area and spread the word about SACOT and even helped start their own STEM advocacy models. One of the bills that SACOT helped pass was Governor Abbott's Classroom Connectivity Initiative, which provides high-speed broadband and Wi-Fi to all K-12 Texas public schools. It's always rewarding to see real change like that happen when bills we advocate for are passed. After conferences, SACOT strives to have Texas teams take the skills they learned back to their local communities and continue to make change. It is crucial to keep having your voice be heard and to not stop until you see the results you desire.
So SACOT has not only helped fuel STEM advocacy in Texas, but we played a key role in starting advocacy programs in Pennsylvania and Arizona. Our former SACOT president was invited to the first Arizona Conference of Technology Advocacy's first conference through FRC 1165. They were there to present on the structure and organization of statewide advocacy programs. Additionally, we expanded our organization's model. We sent it to Pennsylvania with FRC 5740 and PACT, or the Pennsylvania Advocacy Conference of Technology. We also introduced 6 different advocacy models, like we mentioned earlier, to viewers across the country via our first state advocacy summit. We hope to continue expanding SACOT and our advocacy efforts across the entire nation, spreading the message and importance of STEM.
Now we would like to open it up for questions from the audience. You can leave any questions you have for us down in the chat.
All right, looks like we do have a few questions coming in. The first one is, what inspired each of you to, get into SACOT, and, what's the story behind it?
Arohi, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I've been a part of the outreach team on 2468 since my freshman year, and I've always seen SACOT as one of the most impactful and widespread initiatives of ours. And I was just so interested in what actually went on in the government here in Texas. So I decided to join the team last year, and I'm so excited to lead our team next year, especially with our annual conference coming up in February that hopefully we can have again this year.
So I joined SACOT because I was interested in how it all worked. It looked really fun seeing all my friends I know. They were going out to all these cool events. I also wanted to learn certain skills like how to use Streamlabs OBS. And I actually got to put some of those skills to use at our first state advocacy summit this past February.
I know Anna and I's story is probably going to be similar. Anna, do you want to tell it?
Sure. So Jake and I were actually the co-founders of SACOT when it first started. And as you may have heard Arohi and Mason talk about, it was the National Advocacy Conference. Our freshman year that summer, we went just to check it out and learn more about the government and how we can, pitch STEM education. And as we went to this conference, we realized like, hey, why don't we do the same thing that they're doing, except on a more local level, on our state level, so that it's easier to impact real change. Since doing things on the federal level will take a lot of time, we decided to take it down a notch and really make it about Texas first and create our own Texas, advocacy organization, so we can really hit the parts about STEM education that we really want to change in Texas. You can add on more.
Yeah. The cool thing was it started when we were on the TAOs, FTC 5628, back 4 years ago, and we ended up doing NAC, and we had a bunch of people on our team who actually went to it, and we came back to that. We had a bunch of people going up to FRC, and we started working on exactly what Anna was talking about before we did our first conference, and we used all the stuff from 2468 to end up getting it done. So it was really cool. It started as this little idea where we just wanted to go advocate and see if we could do some cool stuff, and then we ended up starting this whole thing just in the course of a year.
Awesome. And since SACOT has grown to be an organization with so many team members from all around Texas, how do you guys keep up with each other and about upcoming events or like important dates, etc.?
So SACOT actually has a Discord server, and through this Discord, we communicate a lot and we talk about our upcoming events and new ideas for our organization. And if anyone here is watching from the state of Texas and is interested in joining, then you can reach out to us on social media, and we can definitely add you to our Discord server, because that is how we keep up with all of the events and talks going on. So yeah.
Awesome. Looks like that is all the questions we have. Do you guys want to wrap it up?
Sure. Let's wrap it up. So to recap, SACOT was started with the original idea of advocating for STEM education and builds by coming together with robotics teams from all around Texas and working towards increasing awareness and funding. We want to reiterate the fact that speaking up and advocating can lead to real change and progress, not only in our community or state, but even your nation. From our own experiences, we have seen that doing this can not only be a lot of fun, but truly a rewarding experience.
Thank you so much for everyone for attending and watching our presentation. We will be posting the slide deck on SACOT's website, so anyone who wants to view it can later. You can access our website by scanning the QR code. Oh, wait, I was pointing. You can access the website. It's in the bottom left corner. I'm pointing again. It's in the bottom left corner. It's the QR code. You can also visit you can go to sacot.org. That's our website. Be sure to check out our social medias. They're right next to the QR code. And you can go to our social medias to find out more about SACOT, what we do, and our upcoming events.
Thank you everyone again, and goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much for that excellent presentation. Actually, personally to me, 2468 was the team that really showed me what FRC was about. You know, the iconic chant, the stomping in the stands, you know, the whole atmosphere you guys create is just amazing. And it's great to hear about all the good work y'all are doing down in Texas. So
yeah,
thank you guys so much.
Hell yeah, man. All right. Thanks for having us.